Hey, I'm Jamie East, and today's episode of The Smart 7 is brought to you by Sainsbury's, where you can save big on festive favourites with nectar prices. With Christmas round the corner, it's more important than ever to find value for money on your festive shop, especially if you're in the mood for festive, tasty treats. And this Christmas, Sainsbury's have got great discounts to make your festive season truly magical. For example, this week you can get a Taste the Difference 6-pack of mince pies, half price at £1.75, Fox's fabulous Viennese assortment sharing box for £3.75, and Pringles Original and Sour Cream and Onion both £1.50, all with nectar prices. You can shop in-store or online and save big on festive favourites this Christmas with nectar prices at Sainsbury's. That's good food for all of us. This offer's for 18 plus, terms and conditions apply. Pringles offer ends 2nd of December, Fox's offer ends 9th of December, nectar required, available in-store and online excluding locals. Delivery fees may apply, subject to availability. Hey, I'm Jamie East, and today's episode of The Smart 7 is sponsored by Vodafone Business in partnership with Samsung. When you're running your own business, pretty much anywhere can be your office, the spare room, the back garden, or, like here, the local cafe. With the power of Vodafone Business's reliable award-winning network, combined with the Samsung Galaxy S25, there's no limit to what you can do pretty much anywhere. And over the next few weeks, we're going to answer some of the questions you might have about how best to unlock the power of AI in your business. For example,
what are the risks for my business if I decide not to engage with AI?
If you choose not to engage with AI in your business, there's a risk you'll fall behind your competitors who are using it to become faster, cheaper and more efficient. You'll definitely miss out on the chance to provide a more personalised service for customers, and you're not going to benefit from insights and innovation which could make your company appear outdated for both staff and customers. And without Galaxy AI, you'll miss out on a host of tools to make business life easier. Getting back to the Samsung Galaxy S25, to take advantage of the Galaxy AI features and change the way you do business, you'll need a Samsung account and a network connection. To find out more, search Vodafone Business Samsung, and for network verification, go to vodafone.co.uk/network.
It's Saturday, the 22nd of November. I'm Ciara Evans, and this was a week that saw the COVID inquiry report criticised Tory government chaos, US Congress vote to release the Epstein files, Ukraine surprised by new peace plan, and Tom Cruise finally get his Oscar.
Grab a cup of something hot, put up your feet, and get up to speed on the 7 biggest stories of the week. This is the Standout 7 from the Smart 7.
It's news,
but not the news.
An 800-page report from the COVID inquiry was published on Thursday, and it contained a damning indictment of Boris Johnson's government and their failure to respond quickly enough to the threat of the pandemic. The second volume of the inquiry's report estimates that as many as 23,000 lives could have been saved if the first lockdown had been implemented even 1 week earlier, after warning signs from the rapid spread of the virus in Italy and China. Chair of the inquiry, Baroness Hallett, was direct and clear in her criticism.
The decision to impose the first UK-wide lockdown was remarkable for the failure on the part of all 4 governments to anticipate or plan for the possible need for a mandatory lockdown. Many of the same failings were repeated later in 2020. This was inexcusable.
There was plenty of other criticisms too, including the fact that the UK was prepared for the wrong kind of pandemic, Boris Johnson's chaotic and indecisive style of leadership, and Dominic Cummings' destabilising influence in Number 10. Cummings rejected the charges, but Deborah Doyle of Bereaved Families for Justice was happy to lay the blame at Johnson's door.
Boris Johnson put his political reputation ahead of public safety. He pandered to his critics when the UK needed decisive action.
The report lists the failings at Number 10, including Boris's failure to attend daily briefings and inability to grasp the scale of the challenge the UK was facing. Lib Dem leader Sir Ed Davey praised Baroness Hallett for the clarity and details she provided in the report.
There was a total lack of leadership at the top of the then Conservative government from Boris Johnson. His failure to attend the key meetings, his failure to get a grip of this early on, has been exposed by this inquiry. Many of us thought it would be. I'm really hats off to the inquiry for having the courage to actually show that unfortunately our country was so badly led at the time.
While there was criticism for all 4 national governments, former Scottish First Minister Nicola Sturgeon sought to draw a line between her government's actions and that of those in Westminster.
At no point did I behave politically in a party political sense. in my management of COVID. My sole motivation, and I got things wrong along the way, but my sole motivation was doing what I judged to be best for the people I serve and the Scottish people. And I will always maintain that because I believe it to be the case.
US President Donald Trump has spent the last few weeks becoming increasingly frustrated that the media and politicians refuse to ignore the story of his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. This week saw Congress scheduled to vote on whether or not to release the full Epstein files, but President Trump announced over the weekend that he's asked Attorney General Pam Bondi to investigate just the Democratic names in the files. He also attacked one of his former MAGA allies, Marjorie Taylor Greene, for her campaigning over the files and calling her wacky and withdrawing his support for her. She says she's had death threats since his comments.
I do support him and his administration. His remarks, of course, have been hurtful. Unfortunately, it has all come down to the Epstein files, and that is shocking.
Meanwhile, his former Vice President Mike Pence spoke out against Trump on Monday, warning that he is meddling with healthcare, which could have serious long-term implications for the American public. Pence, speaking to Sky News, also seemed confident that there won't be a Trump third term.
Our Constitution is very clear. An individual may not be elected to the presidency more than twice. And so I expect that you'll continue to hear the president make comments about the future. At the end of the day, I think we're going to have a very fulsome debate in our country.
After months of wrangling and a government shutdown, the US Congress finally voted on Tuesday evening to release the Epstein files. The bill passed is near unanimous vote as Epstein survivors watched on from the gallery. And the Senate also approved it on Tuesday evening, but it was unclear what would happen next and whether President Trump would actually sign it. Democratic Congressman Jamie Raskin used Prince Andrew as an example in his speech, urging fellow members to pass the vote.
This is the United States of America. Even the British monarchy wouldn't put up with this. How about the American democracy? How about we say, no way, we're not going to allow this cover-up to go on for one day more. Donald
Trump was busy in the White House meeting with Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman of Saudi Arabia, who visited in part to discuss the peace plan for Gaza. The UN has now approved Donald Trump's proposed peace board, and the Crown Prince came bearing gifts, including a reported $1 trillion into the US. Trump took great exception to an ABC reporter who wanted to know about the 2018 killing of journalist Jamal Khashoggi, something that US intelligence said the Crown Prince was aware of or had approved.
You're mentioning somebody that was extremely controversial. A lot of people didn't like that gentleman that you're talking about. Whether you like him or didn't like him, things happen. But he knew nothing about it, and we can leave it at that. You don't have to embarrass our guest by asking a question like that.
Wednesday night saw Donald Trump announce in a long post on social media that he had signed the bill to release the Epstein files. The latest twist is that because Trump instructed a new investigation to be opened into Democrats in the files last weekend, an active investigation may halt the release of key documents. He's under huge pressure from his base, but at a press conference on Wednesday, US Attorney General Pam Bondi seemed to be evading the question over when the files might be released.
We have released over 33,000 Epstein documents to the Hill, and we'll continue to follow the law and to have maximum transparency. Also, we will always encourage all victims to come forward.
Democratic Senator Chris Murphy is not optimistic that the files will ever see the light of day.
There's only one reason Donald Trump has been fighting so hard to stop the release of these files. It's because this is potentially the biggest scandal in presidential history. He wouldn't have been squeezing arms as hard as he has been over the course of the last few months if that wasn't true.
The new Home Secretary, Shabana Mahmood, is determined to fulfil one of Labour's election pledges and finally get a grip on illegal migration. Sir Keir Starmer has pledged to smash the smuggling gangs. 2025 has seen record numbers of arrivals by small boats and various initiatives, including a one-in, one-out scheme with France, but doesn't seem to have made much of a difference. This week has seen the Justice Secretary announce a dramatic overhaul of the immigration system that will see an end to permanent status for refugees and returns for those whose countries are now safe.
It is important that we restore order and control to this system so that we can retain public permission and public confidence in having an asylum system at all. And that is what my reforms are designed to do.
The proposals are based on Denmark's system and have attracted criticism from campaign groups who warn it will cause serious disruption to refugees' family life. Tory Shadow Home Secretary Chris Philip seems to have forgotten that the migration crisis began under his government.
They're a combination of a few small steps in the right direction and a handful of gimmicks. If they really wanted to fix the illegal migration crisis, the government would follow our advice, follow our plans, and that would enable the government to deport all illegal immigrants within a week of arrival.
Speaking in the Commons on Monday, the Home Secretary announced a wide range of changes to the UK's asylum system on Monday as she set out to reset a system that she said is out of control and unfair. She warned that unless action is taken, there'll be more people on a path that starts with anger and ends with hatred. The fundamental reform sees refugee status become temporary and new safe and legal routes to the UK being created. There are also changes to human rights laws to speed up and simplify the appeals process and an end to guaranteed housing and weekly allowances for all. Border Security and Asylum Minister Alex Norris says the UK's system is out of step with Europe.
We know that Britain is seen as a golden ticket, that people want to get to our country. Of course, we're the best country in the world, that doesn't surprise us, but they also think that they are going to be able to access the welfare system, access housing. So the Home Secretary is going to be setting out the biggest changes to the asylum system in modern times.
Labour are hoping to diffuse anger over immigration, which they see as fueling the rise of reform. And Tory leader Kemi Badenoch was grudgingly approving of the moves, but says they need to go much further.
This is a small step in the right direction. We're going to need a whole series of action. We just want to ban asylum claims completely. We need to be out of the ECHR, out of the ECAT. We need a removals force.
The new scheme is modelled on Denmark's approach, but has been criticised by Labour backbenchers who say the promise of a new safe and legal routes to enter the UK is not enough on its own. Mahmood spoke to the BBC and she says it's a hugely important issue that causes great division across the country.
It's a moral mission for me. I'm serious about this. I can see a broken system. I can see in my own constituency, which has many thousands of people who have a migrant background, just like me and my family, who can see abuse and who are angry about it.
Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky launched a plan to clean up Ukraine's energy sector last weekend after a corruption scandal that will see both the Justice Minister and the Energy Minister lose their jobs. Zelensky is under particular pressure as one of those involved in the kickback scandal was a former colleague and co-founder of a media business. The Ukrainian president was in Athens on Sunday to sign a new deal, which will secure supplies of LNG or liquefied natural gas from the US to help Ukraine get through this winter. Finnish President Alexander Stubb was backing Ukraine to hold out against the Russian onslaught.
In World War II, Stalin was in Berlin in 4 years. We're almost 4 years into the war. And Russia is nowhere near Kyiv, and they're not going to get there.
Ukrainian President Zelensky continued his mini-European tour on Monday, travelling from Greece to France, where he agreed a new deal for fighter jets with French President Macron. Russian forces continued to gain ground on the battlefront, with reports of new breakthroughs in the Zaporizhzhia region and continued pressure on the town of Pokrovsk. Russia also continues to strike at Ukraine's power grid, sparking power cuts across the country. And with no sign of any pause or ceasefire, there's real pressure on Ukraine's European allies to deliver more weapons and support. French President Macron said that despite recent corruption scandals, the door to EU membership remains open.
The way towards the EU will be demanding and will require deep reforms in the way of transparency and the rule of law. I fully trust President Zelensky and the Ukrainian people to satisfy those conditions.
Russia has been busy testing the limits of European defences with drone flights and accidental flight incursions into Europe's airspace, but things seem to have ramped up with the UK, the latest country to have its defences tested by Russian military assets. The Russian ship Yantar has been lurking in the North Sea. It's part of Russia's deep sea research programme, which is designed to undertake surveillance in peacetime and sabotage in conflict. They've been shining lasers at RAF pilots tracking the vessel. The Defence Secretary John Healey had a stern warning for Putin.
My message to Russia and to Putin is this. We see you, we know what you're doing, and if the Yantar travels south this week, we are ready.
Ukrainian President Zelensky arrived in Turkey on Wednesday evening after another round of brutal attacks on civilian targets in Ukraine, with at least 25 people killed in an attack in the city of Ternopil. He was due to meet with US delegation in Ankara on Thursday and a potential 28-point peace plan deal, which appears to have been agreed between Russia and the US, which was leaked in advance of the meeting. The deal sounds exactly like Vladimir Putin's previous demands, and chair of the Ukrainian Parliamentary Foreign Affairs Committee, Alexander Mersko, told CNN he's not impressed.
To me, it looks really suspicious and ludicrous. This plan seems to be aiming at surrender of Ukraine, and for us it's totally unacceptable. And I do hope that it's not serious.
Ukrainian President Zelensky received a draft peace plan on Thursday from the Trump administration as he met with a US military delegation in Turkey, which was led by Army Secretary Dan Driscoll. The Americans say Donald Trump is pursuing peace on an aggressive timeline, but the proposals, which include Ukraine handing over the Donbass to Russia, have sparked anger in Kyiv. Ukrainian MP Lisa Yavsko spoke to BBC News.
Our reaction is very bad. Also, it looks as some kind of pressure on us when we are having a quite not easy days in terms of the political situation inside our country.
Zelensky says he will negotiate directly with US President Trump on the plan, and he has the backing of European allies, including EU Foreign Policy Chief Kaja Kallas, who was at a meeting of foreign ministers in Brussels on Thursday.
What we as Europeans have always supported is a long-lasting and just peace, and we welcome any efforts to achieve that. Of course, for any plan to work, it needs Ukrainians and Europeans on board.
Still to come on the Standout 7 in association with Metro, World Cup qualifying drama, and Tom Cruise finally gets his Oscar.
Right after this. Hey, I'm Jamie East, and today's episode of the Smart 7 is sponsored by Vodafone Business in partnership with Samsung. When you're running your own business, pretty much anywhere can be your office, the spare room, the back garden, or, like here, the local cafe. With the power of Vodafone Business's reliable award-winning network, combined with the Samsung Galaxy S25, there's no limit to what you can do pretty much anywhere. And over the next few weeks, we're going to answer some of the questions you might have about how best to unlock the power of AI in your business. For example,
what are the risks for my business if I decide not to engage with AI?
If you choose not to engage with AI in your business, there's a risk you'll fall behind your competitors who are using it to become faster, cheaper and more efficient. You'll definitely miss out on the chance to provide a more personalised service for customers, and you're not going to benefit from insights and innovation which could make your company appear outdated for both staff and customers. And without Galaxy AI, you'll miss out on a host of tools to make business life easier. Getting back to the Samsung Galaxy S25, to take advantage of the Galaxy AI features and change the way you do business, you'll need a Samsung account and a network connection. To find out more, search Vodafone Business Samsung, and for network verification, go to vodafone.co.uk/network. Hey, I'm Jamie East, and today's episode of the Smart 7 is brought to you by Sainsbury's, where you can save big on festive favourites with nectar prices. With Christmas round the corner, it's more important than ever to find value for money on your festive shop, especially if you're in the mood for festive, tasty treats. And this Christmas, Sainsbury's have got great discounts to make your festive season truly magical. For example, this week you can get a Taste the Difference 6-pack of mince pies, half price at £1.75, Fox's fabulous Viennese assortment sharing box for £3.75, and Pringles Original and Sour Cream and Onion both £1.50, all with nectar prices. You can shop in-store or online and save big on festive favourites this Christmas with nectar prices at Sainsbury's. That's good food for all of us. This offer's for 18+, terms and conditions apply. Pringles offer ends 2nd of December, Fox's offer ends 9th of December, nectar required, available in-store and online excluding locals, delivery fees may apply, subject to availability. Welcome back.
Next week we'll see Budget Day, with pressure mounting on Chancellor Rachel Reeves as stories of income tax rises and then U-turns on income tax rises have filled the newspapers. Former Chief Economist of the Bank of England, Andy Haldane, added his voice to the budget discussion on Monday, and he says the ongoing crisis around the budget and the economy is actually doing harm to the economy. He criticised the Chancellor for public uncertainty over what she would do and says that all of that doubt has been a contributing factor in the low growth rate.
It's been a bad hand played in truth pretty poorly. So mistakes have been made.
the black hole narrative, sucking all life, all energy and light from the economy.
MI5 issued a warning to MPs on Tuesday that they need to be vigilant and on the lookout for attempts at espionage from Chinese spies. 2 specific LinkedIn accounts were identified, which the spy agency says are used for recruiting individuals working in UK politics in a bid to gain insider insights. The Chinese embassy in London dismissed the warning, describing it as pure fabrication and accusing the UK of a self-staged charade. Security Minister Dan Jarvis is taking it seriously, however, announcing a new package of measures to upgrade government encryption and protect the UK's higher learning institutions.
This activity involves a covert and calculated attempt by a foreign power to interfere with our sovereign affairs in favour of its own interests. And this government will not tolerate it.
China took great offence to the notion that it deliberately is targeting politicians or civil servants. That's in stark contrast to reporting by The Times on Wednesday that suggested thousands of Westminster staff who were one step removed from high-profile figures were approached. China's Foreign Ministry spokesperson Mao Ning was categorical in her denial.
We firmly reject such vilification that has no factual basis and projects one's own mentality onto China. China never interferes in the internal affairs of other countries and has no interest to collect so-called intelligence from the British Parliament.
Back to the budget, and there was good news on inflation at least, with the latest figures published on Wednesday morning showing a drop from 3.8% to 3.6% in line with the Bank of England projections. That could indicate that the inflation bump is over, but the Chancellor says that we're not out of the woods yet.
Food prices fell last month and they have risen this month, but I do recognise that there's more that we need to do to tackle the cost of living challenges, and that's why one of the 3 priorities in my budget is to tackle the cost of living.
Tory leader Kemi Badenoch was on the attack at Prime Minister's Question Time, echoing the words of former Bank of England economist Andy Haldane, who says the relentless speculation about what might be in the budget is doing harm to the economy.
This is the first budget to unravel before it's even been delivered. The Chancellor's cluelessness, I'm afraid, is damaging the economy now.
This week has seen the final slots for the World Cup 2026 decided along with the contenders for the playoff finals, which will take place in March. Sunday saw England complete a perfect run of qualifying games with a 2-0 win in Albania with 2 goals from Harry Kane. It set a record too as the first European team to win all 8 of their qualifying games without conceding a single goal. Things were slightly different for the Republic of Ireland, who had a historic win over Portugal last Thursday, but needed to repeat the trick in Hungary to grab a playoff spot. After 95 minutes of intense drama on Sunday, Troy Parrott sealed a hat-trick with a last-gasp winner that saw Ireland through with a 3-2 win. Parrott, who scored 5 goals in 3 days, was suitably modest as Ireland celebrated.
I think everyone wrote us off at the start of the group, and I couldn't have said it enough that there's always a chance, and we've taken a chance. I think everyone should be proud of the group of players that are over there. Yeah, it's beautiful.
Ireland will face Czechia in their playoff semi-final, while Northern Ireland face Italy and Wales face Bosnia. For Scotland, Tuesday night was a do-or-die moment as they had to beat Denmark to win the group and qualify. And that's exactly what Steve Clarke's men did with a historic 4-2 win that put them top of the group and into the World Cup for the first time in 28 years.
Feels good. I said at the start of the campaign, I felt the pressure of the nation to try to get to World Cup. So immediately that falls off your shoulders and you feel a little bit better. But what a fantastic group of players. I've said it for a long time now about how good they are and how determined they are to be good for their country.
Tom Cruise may well be the biggest action star on the planet, but there's one challenge he hasn't met until now, and that is winning an Oscar. He's had multiple Academy Award nominations, including for Jerry Maguire and Magnolia, but he's never actually won one. That was put to right on Sunday at the Academy's Governors Awards dinner, which saw honorary Oscars go to Cruise, Dolly Parton, and actor, dancer and producer Debbie Allen. Tom gave an emotional speech saying cinema is not what he does, it's who I am.
So cinema, it takes me around the world, and it helps me to appreciate and respect differences. It shows me also our shared humanity, how alike we are in so many ways.
You've been listening to The Smart 7. We'll be back tomorrow at 7 a.m. Hit that follow button and have a great day. Give us 7 minutes and we'll give you the world. Hey, I'm Jamie East, and today's episode of The Smart 7 is brought to you by Sainsbury's, where you can save big on festive favourites with Nectar prices. With Christmas round the corner, it's more important than ever to find value for money on your festive shop, especially if you're in the mood for festive, tasty treats. And this Christmas, Sainsbury's have got great discounts to make your festive season truly magical. For example, this week you can get a Taste the Difference 6-pack of mince pies, half price at £1.75, Fox's fabulous Viennese assortment sharing box for £3.75, and Pringles Original and Sour Cream and Onion both £1.50, all with Nectar prices. You can shop in-store or online and save big on festive favourites this Christmas with Nectar prices at Sainsbury's. That's good food for all of us. This offer's for 18 plus, terms and conditions apply. Pringles offer ends 2nd of December, Fox's offer ends 9th of December, Nectar required, available in-store and online excluding locals, delivery fees may apply and subject to availability. Hey, I'm Jamie East, and today's episode of The Smart 7 is sponsored by Vodafone Business in partnership with Samsung. When you're running your own business, pretty much anywhere can be your office, the spare room, the back garden, or, like here, the local cafe. With the power of Vodafone Business's reliable award-winning network, combined with the Samsung Galaxy S25, there's no limit to what you can do pretty much anywhere. And over the next few weeks, we're going to answer some of the questions you might have about how best to unlock the power of AI in your business. For example,
what are the risks for my business if I decide not to engage with AI?
If you choose not to engage with AI in your business, there's a risk you'll fall behind your competitors who are using it to become faster, cheaper and more efficient. You'll definitely miss out on the chance to provide a more personalised service for customers, and you're not going to benefit from insights and innovation which could make your company appear outdated for both staff and customers. And without Galaxy AI, you'll miss out on a host of tools to make business life easier. Getting back to the Samsung Galaxy S25, to take advantage of the Galaxy AI features and change the way you do business, you'll need a Samsung account and a network connection. To find out more, search Vodafone Business Samsung, and for network verification, go to vodafone.co.uk/network.